Hey, thanks for checking out another real-time edit. Today I have this beautiful female pine warbler. I don't get to photograph a lot of female species. They just tend to be more secluded and less out in the open, and obviously less vocal too, so you don't hear them as much. But there was a male and female kind of bouncing around this perch, and I was actually out with my friend Ray that morning, and we shot it backlit, which was really cool. So anyway, just wanted to show that edit. So I'm just going to do a little crop there. Next up, just lighten the exposure a little bit. Definitely warm the white balance. I want to get that real warm golden glow that we actually saw that morning. And then I'm going to bring the contrast back with it, probably somewhere in there, and then I'll do the rest in Photoshop. So over to Photoshop I go. Oh, not sure what happened there. There we go. Come on, Photoshop, you can do it. Always waiting with these computers, huh? There we go. Okay, first thing, do a little cloning here. You know, I don't hate these leaves up there, but they're not attached to anything, so I guess I'll just get rid of them. Plus that one is like a real dark spot there, so get rid of that. Just gonna get rid of these tiny little flares off of whatever was floating around in the sky, and that should do it. Looks pretty clean. I just tried to remove a spot that's actually just on my physical screen. I do that all the time. You get smudges and spots on the screen and then try to clone them out. Always fun. Okay, so now backlit shots for me, especially with lens flare like this, always need a good deal of editing. So the first thing I'm going to do is I want to take the whole thing a little darker and richer, but then I want to bring the bird back so that doesn't go any darker. So now I'm just going to mask that out. So I have a selection perfectly around the bird. And so I have a real good rim light, like almost entirely around the entire bird there. So I'm going to use that to help with some automatic selections, but I'll start by painting in manually the major part of the bird. I'll leave the legs dark there, I guess. And then I'll just use an automatic selection tool to hopefully accurately select the rest of the outline of the bird so I don't have to manually paint that in, which would be really nice. Get the tail down here, soften the brush up a little bit. Since it's not perfectly sharp. Just because it's out of the focal plane is all. Shooting at f4 as I always do. Alright, so this area would be tough for an automatic selection, so I'll do this manually. Plus it's just kind of straight connect the dots there. These feathers I don't think will stand out in my automatic selection either. I'm going to use color range for that. But up here where it's all white around the edges and the feathers, that I think will work perfectly with color range, so I will just kind of rough it out here. And there we go. So I'll fill that. And then I'll do color range. I also have an action saved for this color range because it doesn't just do the color range selection for me. It actually does some modifications to the selection afterwards. I honestly at this point don't even remember what they are. It's probably, I think it's like some expanding, like a real tiny amount, and some feathering. So that is what my action does to kind of clean things up. But you can see now how it's just kind of painting in, that feather selection quite perfectly for me and kind of helping me out along those edges. So let's see how that looks. It's pretty good. It's just not fully connected there. So I'll just clean that up manually. It also puts some weird stuff in the beak there, which I don't want. So I'll clean that up as well manually. And not sure what that, oh, no, well, there's little feathers sticking out there, so I guess that's what that's all about. So now I'll get a brush with pressure sensitivity, because before I was using one without. And then I'll just kind of mask these fine feathers in that it didn't pick up in the color range selection. And there we go. Now, looks pretty weird, right? All right, that was just so I can get the selection. Ugh, hang on. Computer's not keeping up here. All right, so I'm loading that selection. I wanted to invert it. There we go, and save the selection. All right, so I think actually some of this would be applicable to the bird itself, so I'll paint some of that in, just not 100% of it. And that looks pretty legit. And now I'm going to actually modify the contrast of the bird itself, which is going to be to bring the blacks down, but lighten it as well. And then I'm also going to go with luminosity blending mode so it doesn't make the color insane. That's looking pretty good, right? So it's got the contrast back, but it's not darkening it at all, which is what I wanted. I want to enhance the catch light a little bit here, just so we can see that. And then I'm going to kind of richen up the black of the eye itself. So that was too much, so I'll back off of that. So another curves adjustment layer, just kind of darken the eye here, darken the beak. I'll use that selection again. Right, so anything that should be black on the bird is what I'm kind of trying to richen up right now by just painting in some of this adjustment. I love that that little hint of yellow is showing on the breast of the bird there, so I'm actually going to enhance that a little bit. Just kind of show that a little bit more. And I think my catch light is probably a bit too much, so since it's the only thing I painted on that layer, I'll just back off the opacity on that layer, and that looks a little bit more legit. Boy, I don't know. I don't think I have much of anything else to do. So look, before, after. See how it makes the bird stand out more? Just kind of taking that wash off the background. Plus it makes everything back here a little bit more rich, which I really like. So yeah, I think that does it for me. So let me get that saved. And I'll show you the complete original, which is always going to be off because the cameras suck at picking a proper white balance when they shoot these backlit shots, as you can see here. Like this is, the camera's trying to neutralize everything, but when I was looking at it to my eye, it was literally just a golden wash over everything. So that's actually pretty inaccurate as far as the white balance goes. This is much more accurate to what it looked like that morning. And obviously the contrast is fixed and the bird stands out a little bit more. So that's the final image. And not too long of an edit either. So thanks so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed this one and got something from it.